Hello fellow libtards, repubtards, we gather here today to discuss the bipartisan issue that is Keffals. For those of you who don't know, Keffals is a former candidate of the Canadian Communist Party turned Twitch streamer. She became famous for ratioing people on Twitter, doing it to Elon Musk as well as many other right-leaning people. She aims to deplatform anyone who criticizes her. She's vindictive, encouraging her fans to go after people's jobs. She's doxed individuals, hiring a private investigator to do so. She's embezzled over $100,000 of GoFundMe money for a lawsuit that will never happen, while conveniently now having the money to vacation all around Europe, with a new IRL streaming setup to boot. Download this video because she has taken down countless accounts that have rubbed her the wrong way. That is why I would like to thank our special guest, Tej Hanley. Tej Hanley uncomplicates the skincare process for men, making it easy for guys like you and me to stay hydrated and smooth. I always get flaky skin around my mouth, in my beard. Guys, we don't like when the ladies have dry skin. You think they like it on us? My favorite part about Tej is that every box comes with an instructional card to help walk you through each product, how much to use, and in what order. I recommend the level 1 box. It comes with all the basics to start your skincare routine. In the morning, I do a daily face wash to get rid of all that dirt and grime. I bust out the AM moisturizer SPF 20 because you should always be protecting your face from the sun.
Very soft.
In the evening, I use that PM moisturizer so my skin stays hydrated throughout the night. And twice a week, you exfoliate. It's really that easy and it feels great. But you don't have to take my word for it. They have over 5,000 5-star reviews on their website from satisfied customers. And because Tej Hanley is being heroes for sponsoring today's video, they're offering you a great deal. Click the link in the description to get 30% off your first order, plus a free gift. Man, start your easy skincare routine today. Get Tej Hanley. Thank you, Tej Hanley, for sponsoring today's video. Keffals is trans and she has no doubtly been a target for harassment online, which is interesting because she's also one of the biggest bullies on the internet herself. Keffals routinely mischaracterizes people she doesn't like with half-truths or lies to try and discredit them. She loves to frame everybody else's community as super transphobic. She once got mad at Destiny for talking about trans women in sports. It's a hot button issue in today's climate because everyone deserves a right to compete, but there's clearly a competitive edge there. So to me, it makes sense that political creators would engage in this dialogue.
So my understanding of your position is that basically there's some advantage that having ever been sort of like born male or whatever, having ever had male physiology, that the advantage that presents you in competing in certain sports is like equivalent to the advantage presented by doing like performance enhancing drugs or something. And
wow, it's greater than doing performance enhancing drugs, but
It's more that there is a specific advantage that you get that those leagues are controlling for. Like, it's supposed to be female leagues and male leagues. So if you're able to gain an advantage by breaking that construct, then that seems to be a pretty bad thing.
So how does Keffals respond to this take? She calls him a stealther, which is when you take off the condom without letting the girl know.
Oh yeah, meanwhile he stealths people, which is legitimately a form of rape. Insane shit.
She then says Destiny is pro-segregation against trans people.
People in his replies are still trying to tell me that Destiny stands for trans people, but literally talked about how he supports segregation earlier this week. You can't simultaneously say you support trans people and say that trans people should have to compete in their own sports leagues. You're literally advocating for segregation. That's fucking insane. That's insane people talk.
Keffals would then actively try and get Destiny banned on Twitter, adding Twitter support. When Destiny would delete the tweet to protect his account, Keffals would say, literally deleted his tweet. I knew losing his account would be worth more than picking a fight with me. Destiny, you stay in your corner of Twitch and I'll stay in mine and we'll have a good time. Let me remind you that this thread is coming from a debate that should be totally healthy to have. The next day, Destiny would be banned off Twitch, with Keffals taking all the credit. This is Destiny's Twitch channel right now. Hey Steven, I just took away your primary source of income. Please leave me alone and stop bullying trans people for content. Does Keffals give any examples of Destiny just bullying trans people? No, because he didn't. She's just making it up. But to her fans, it's believable because Destiny's already pro-segregation and a stealther. I'm not responding to Destiny's recent subtweets about me. He picked a fight with me, he got banned, I won. Up to this point, Destiny never picked a fight with her. She just randomly started accusing him of stealthing and hate raiding her, even though there was no evidence to either. None. None. Creators wanted to criticize Keffals for her dishonesty, but were also aware of the transphobia that exists towards her, and they wanted to emphasize that it wasn't acceptable. Nick tweeted, Keffals sucks for a million different reasons, but every time I tweet about her, I get the same unfunny shit. Adam's apple, he, and a bunch of other insults that just make you and me look like assholes. I don't care what you believe, but keep it out of my replies. Tipster would write, I hate that anytime we criticize Keffals, a bunch of transphobic idiots flood our mentions. I'm not about that anti-trans hateful bullshit. Keep the criticisms to her actions, and if you're gonna be transphobic, you're gonna get blocked. How would Keffals respond? By calling them transphobic in both situations, even though they're clearly disavowing it. I'm sorry, but if you have an audience of thousands of people and you don't make trans-related content, statistically speaking, there are going to be a few transphobic people in there. So why does Keffals respond this way? Because she needs them to be seen as transphobic. They're criticizing her. And what's the best way to get her audience to write off that criticism? By framing them as transphobes. This of course goats her followers into mass reporting her critics' accounts. In cases like Nick DiOrio's, she would reply to people reporting him saying, this isn't a game anymore. I don't care what happens to them. They played stupid games. It's time for them to win stupid prizes. When it comes to people who are on their second Twitter account, she would @, to get them banned. She'd tweet, the lesson I learned is that the only way to earn the respect is through fear. Keep up the pressure and they will be marching with us at pride parades. Mr. Medicare would quote tweet her a couple times before she would get him banned too. She would do the same to Destiny, getting his Twitter taken away. Rakita Law would lose his Twitter as well and temporarily lose his YouTube channel. You gotta love how Keffals, the former Communist Party politician, is now following the steps of Stalin and purging her political opponents. This is absolutely ridiculous, seeing that Keffals at one point was banned on Twitter too, and she used a backup account to tweet in the meantime. She was literally ban evading, just like the account she's calling out. Rules for thee, but not for me. See, that's how you know she was a politician. This pattern of mischaracterizing people so she could justify an aim for their ban became Keffals' motto, and it would only grow in her battle with Kiwi Farms.
I am the baddest of them all. If you ain't about money, then I don't mess with y'all.
Kiwi Farms is an internet forum where people gather together to discuss controversial figures. They are most infamous for their documentation of lol cows. The place has incredibly lax moderation, meaning slurs and misgendering run rampant. Which, you know, I don't care. I grew up on Xbox Live. Every place on the internet doesn't need to be squeaky clean, but it's definitely not for the faint of heart. It's a degenerate place that has some degenerate people on it whose passion is documenting other degenerates. So I wasn't surprised to find out that Keffals had a thread created on her. This would lead to a war. Keffals would be swatted August 5th, 2022. Swatting is when an anonymous person calls in a fake crime so the police raid your house and potentially harm you. The threat was someone impersonating Keffals via email, saying that she killed her transphobic mom and was going to kill every cisgendered person she sees at City Hall. Keffals was arrested and then released by the police, returning all of her raided belongings 3 days later. In the meantime, Keffals would heavily criticize how the police handled things, starting a GoFundMe to move, recoup her losses, and build a legal fund.
Swatting is a crime. Identity theft is a crime. And because it was a crime that was motivated by hatred against transgender people, it was a hate crime perpetrated against me. I have been subject to emotional damages, financial damages, blatant violations of the Human Rights Act, and discrimination on the basis of gender identity and expression. I was also subject to unjust seizures.
Keffals would set the goal to $20,000, and she would clarify again, I started a GoFundMe after being victimized by the London police services for being a victim of a hate crime. If my goal is met, I will have raised enough to recoup my losses and move immediately to a safe location. If the goal is exceeded, funds will be allocated to a legal fund to protect myself against ongoing and future threats to my safety. Hey, so far, I can see where she's coming from, and I support what she's trying to do. She's moving, says she's suing the police for infringing on her rights, and replacing the property they took. But oh boy, does things start to get weird real fast. Keffals would leave her house to stay at a hotel, posting a picture of her cat on the bed, saying everything was okay. But the doxers would cross-reference the bed sheets and a picture of her cat to find out which hotel she was staying at. And they sent her loads of pizzas. She would then move hotels, and the doxers would end up hacking her Uber Eats, ordering over $500 worth of food in her name. She would then post a picture of a bunch of the food on her bed, allowing her to get doxed again, with each new update she gave greatly increasing her donations, and subsequently the goal of the GoFundMe. And every time she would get doxed, she would blame it on Kiwi Farms, encouraging services like Cloudflare to drop the site so it would be shut down. Keffals would then claim she needs to flee the country to Europe. Why? Kiwi Farms isn't a person. They don't only exist in Canada. It's the internet. They're everywhere. They're all around the world. Going to Europe doesn't make sense. It's even made more confusing with the constant updates of her location, literally taunting the doxers to keep harassing her. On August 26th, Keffals would announce that she was going to Europe, staying at a friend's place in Ireland.
So, I'm okay. I am currently in Ireland. I am staying with a friend. I'm safe. Things are good. Don't tell people what country. It is completely fine. Do you know how dense Ireland is?
The problem is her friend has already been doxxed in the past, which was recognized by the doorknob in one of her streams, meaning Keffals was doxxed yet again. And just like the other times, Keffals would blame it on Kiwi Farms. Here's the thing, Kiwi Farms was down the 26th to the 29th due to having Cloudflare drop them due to pressure from Keffals. So how could it be Kiwi Farms? Turns out it's not, and Keffals was aware the whole time. There is a website that Destiny and Keffals do not name because they do not want to give it attention. So like them, we will refer to it as Website Zero. Website Zero is what Keffals portrays Kiwi Farms as. Kiwi Farms in reality is just a glorified gossip forum where people like to troll and use slurs. Website Zero, on the other hand, is a coordinated effort by users meant to harass their target, not just online, but in real life as well. And they have been publicly taking credit for much of the harassment towards Keffals. Website Zero has the email that got her swatted. They took credit for the Uber Eats hack. They took credit and explained how they doxed her new address in Ireland. When her family was swatted, what website had the full documentation of her family and was actively talking about it at the time? Website Zero. And she's known that they were the real culprits the entire time, trying to silence people who talk about it, admitting in her DMs with Destiny that that site was way more dangerous. Meanwhile, all she did was blame Kiwi Farms for stuff she knows they didn't do. A site whose users didn't even know she was swatted until she announced it. Why? Well, in her own words, Kiwi Farms has more users.
I'm wondering, like, why not draw attention to that website in particular if they seem to be more inherently dangerous?
I don't think they're more inherently dangerous.
You've literally told Destiny they were. I was scared. Website Zero users aren't stupid like Kiwi Farms users. They simply post the docs and are smart enough to know how to hack accounts, collect info from data breaches, and use social engineering to get the information they need. Website Zero retaliated against me when I started the campaign to get Cloudflare to drop Kiwi Farms, and they did a more comprehensive dox of my family and friends than Kiwi Farms ever did.
They also don't have as many active users because the people who, on the other side, the people who do it, they're more technically skilled in what they do. But also because they had more extensive documentation of my family, and I didn't want to put that out there. I think that's reasonable, right?
Framing somebody else for something they didn't do is not reasonable. She's doing it for clout. That's it. So what did Kiwi Farms actually do that was wrong? Well, they did have a post of her docs up for months, as well as one of the hotels she was staying at. And that is wrong, because doxing leads to swatting, swatting leads to somebody getting hurt or killed. And the owner of the site, as well as the moderator, should be held accountable for that. However, the swatting, hacking of her Uber Eats account, doxing of her family and future addresses, all come down to Website Zero. Yet she still pretends it's from Kiwi Farms. If we're going to hold Kiwi Farms responsible, let's do it. But stop lying about them. Your false allegations is turning Kiwi Farms into a victim, a sentence I didn't even know was possible. It's become so destructive, she's publicly encouraged her followers to swat the owner of the site. She posted a picture of the owner of the site's mom and said, "What a cute family. Surely his mother will not lose her job because of her son's heinous actions and have to leave the internet." She's justified this because his mom was featured in a news article once.
So did Joshua Moon's mother dox you?
Well, I didn't dox Joshua Moon's mother.
No, you just posted a picture of her face to your entire audience.
That photo was from news articles.
If you're beefing with someone and you start posting pictures of their family to your audience, you're inviting your fans to go harass their family. You know this, stop playing stupid. Kiwi Farms would have a data breach leak and she would encourage people to dox the users and get them fired from their jobs. If you have an active Kiwi Farms account, I will not only post your name publicly, but I will find out your employer and forward them your post history. I have no tolerance for hate, and users of this site should feel more scared to get as bold as they do. This is a hate group. Kiwi Farms has thousands of users every day. They aren't an organized group. This is a ridiculous narrative. She keeps finding the occasional death threat and then posts it to Twitter, acting like this is the sentiment of the entire website, when in reality, the mods on Kiwi Farms remove it pretty quickly. This user doesn't even exist anymore. It's like me getting a death threat on YouTube or Twitter and then acting like all of YouTube and all of Twitter want me dead. It makes no sense. It's absurd. And can I just say it? Some of these death threats she gets are kind of suspect. One account was inactive for 2 years, then randomly posted 2 low-effort posts on Keffals' Kiwi Farms thread. Then at 3:42 p.m., the account made a death threat towards Keffals. Only 13 minutes later, at 3:55 p.m., Keffals would post a tweet about it. And then at 3:56 p.m., less than a minute later, the user deleted the post themselves. An inactive account decides to come back and post a death threat just barely long enough for Keffals to screenshot it and make a tweet, and then it's deleted 1 minute later? Really? I'm sorry, but this looks so staged. Keffals would then find the Kiwi Farm user she thought doxed her and hire a private investigator to try and find out where he lives. On Discord, she would message this guy, sending him pictures of his mom and dad to him, as well as try to find out where he works. Except there's a problem. The person in the photos is not the person Keffals is talking to, so she just doxed some random guy. Who goes through this kind of effort? It's fucking psycho. Keffals would then claim that this leaked chat was fake. However, the guy she tried to dox showed proof, linking it back to her Discord account. But we don't even need that because Keffals herself bragged about doing it at 3 a.m. before promptly deleting the tweets. Meanwhile, she's going on CNN acting like she's above all this.
What is your message to the people who are doing this to you?
I don't blame them, really, because...
Really?
Yeah, they got roped into a hate group. And once you get deep enough inside one of these things, it's really hard to get out. I want to show them more compassion than they've ever shown me.
You can't say that after doxing users' moms, encouraging your followers to dox and swat them, getting your fans to go after users' jobs, and framing everyone on the site for shit they didn't do. When you knew which website was responsible the entire time and you did nothing but try to silence people who brought it up. At one point, it straight up sounds like she's calling for violence. She posts the address of the office that hosted Kiwi Farms in Ukraine and told her followers that the owner, as well as the site as a whole, supports Vladimir Putin and loves Russians. She said, if I have any Ukrainian followers, here's the phone number and address to where Kiwi Farms is hosted. Do your thing. What is Ukraine's thing at the moment when talking about pro-Russia supporters? Ukraine, do your thing. Wink, wink.
Here comes the money.
Here we go.
You know what else doesn't make sense? The GoFundMe. The GoFundMe reached over $100,000 with the goals to move, replace her belongings, and build a legal fund. But when I start to break it down, it becomes very confusing. She says she needs to recoup her losses.
I started a GoFundMe to move immediately, recoup my losses.
What losses? All of her stuff was given back by the police after 3 days. There are no losses.
I eventually got my stuff back in like 3 days and got an apology from the chief of police.
That's nice.
So, yeah, that was really nice.
When it comes to her moving, for some reason she decided to vacation to Europe under the guise of fleeing the country.
And I thought that if I got far away and went to a different continent, they wouldn't be able to do the same thing.
It literally makes no sense. How does moving countries help escape the internet? She'd be better off staying at home where people like the police now know who she is. She would then buy an IRL streaming setup so she could stream in the streets. So you're in hiding, but you're streaming your location. You go to TwitchCon, but you're streaming your location. You announce that you're going to Spain. The reality is she's not fleeing anything. She never was fleeing anything because the safest thing she could do is stay at home where the police know who she is. YouTubers are swatted all the time. Keemstar, H3H3.
About 30 minutes ago, I had about 40 cops at my house with guns drawn on me.
The first time we got swatted, there was like 20 police cars. There's a fucking helicopter. They cased the whole house with their guns drawn. It was pretty nuts.
Countless Twitch streamers, and this is what they all do. They don't go travel Europe. She's got her fans worried for nothing. When it comes to the legal fund, it starts off with the police violated my rights and we will get justice. If the goal is exceeded, which was $20,000, funds will be allocated to a legal fund.
I am keeping the GoFundMe up, but any donations towards it from this point forward will be strictly towards the legal fund. Anyone who wants to donate to it can do so, and you will be given updates as legal actions progress.
Well, the goal was exceeded by more than $80,000. Well, it's been over 2 months. Where are these updates, Keffals? You acted like you were gonna sue the police.
I was also subject to unjust seizures, which not only affected my livelihood, but has severely disrupted the work that my fiance is doing in their doctorate program and has the potential to impact whether or not my fiance finishes their doctorate. People kept asking me why I'm raising the goal when it hits the goal. And the reason why is because, yes, I'm using these funds to move, but more importantly, once I'm safe, the rest of those funds are going to be used for legal expenses. Because I'm not just moving, I'm also taking legal action.
It then became, well, I'm going to potentially sue the police.
After it first happened, I was very mad at the police. And I wanted to hold their feet to the fire as much as possible. I wanted to even potentially pursue legal action against them.
It then becomes, well, I never said I was going to sue the police. I was being very careful with my language.
I keep raising it. The reason that I did that in the first place was because I wanted it to be $100,000 from the beginning, but I didn't know if I would get that money. So when it kept coming in, I just kept raising the cap until I got there. I never said that I was going to sue the police. I wanted to be very careful with the language that I used because I don't know exactly what the plan is.
A few weeks later, Keffals would admit in a leaked conversation that all the money's just sitting in her savings account. She ain't suing nothing. When people would ask for a breakdown for how she's spending the GoFundMe money, she refuses to elaborate. I will never do a GoFundMe breakdown for bad faith actors. Everyone who donated has a refund button. Someone would ask, can you actually prove you are pursuing litigation? I have no intentions of knowing what it is or what you're pursuing. Can you just give us some proof that you're actually pursuing legal action? Keffals would reply, can you prove that this tweet didn't ratio you? He would ask again, can you show one piece of evidence that you paid for a lawyer with the money donated towards your legal fund? And Keffals would ignore it by responding with a Wojak. Showing the breakdown for money donated to you for specific purposes should be something you want to do. Now she's so confident that she's gotten away with it, she literally laughs about it.
Wait, I'm
Let me say
sorry.
this.
I'm not the
You
one with
have the
$100,000 of
Hold
milking
on.
it for content.
Hold on.
I'm not the one with a trip
I'm
to
sorry
Europe
that
about
you don't have
milking it for content.
$100,000, but that's not my fault. You're a broke bitch.
Not a single part of this GoFundMe makes sense. She's pursuing legal action but can't explain what it is. She needed money for the damages made by the police when there are none. And when it comes to moving, I don't think vacationing all around Europe while IRL streaming the whole thing is what people had in mind. It doesn't even make sense. Everything I just talked about has been well documented in Destiny's manifesto on Keffals. But before it came out, she would message him a backhanded threat to try and prevent it from happening. She'd write, I'm glad you were reasonable. You were a smart guy. I never doubted that about you. You obviously see how we have the potential to both lose control over this situation if it goes mainstream. If this situation ended up in the news cycle, it would put my friends and family at risk, and at worst, could result in your YouTube account getting terminated. I'm glad you agree with me that both of us walking away is the best course of action. I don't want to see either of us eat shit because of this. When Destiny ended up dropping the document anyway, Keffals would seek out his wife at TwitchCon, threatening him again.
Keffals went to go, and she went up to Melina, and she was shaking. Like, it was like she was so anxious or so angry, she was shaking, right? And she said, tell your husband, if he doesn't stop coming for me, I'm going to get his YouTube channel deleted. No fucking memes. That happened, okay?
Melina would also back up this story, although Keffals would deny it. Of course she would. She always does when she's caught in the shit.
Someone came forward with a story that Keffals went up to Destiny's wife and said, I'm getting your husband banned. Like some shit like that, right? Isn't that the story, Nick?
That's about what I heard.
Man, people say all sorts of crazy shit about me. Like, people
No.
say that I-
Is it true? Is it true? Is it
No,
true? Come on.
everyone clapped.
See, that sucks because that sounded like a bad bitch moment.
I don't know. I kind of wish I could be as cool as some people think that I am. Like, people make up all sorts of crazy shit about me, and they make me sound like I'm this evil mastermind.
You totally went up to Destiny's wife and said that. That is something you would do. I'm getting your husband banned. Like, no, this is not true. This is fake.
I already said, man.
What's funny is she would do the same thing to Stardust. First, she'd come up with some reason to discredit her, some weird guilt by association thing. Flamenco was friendly with Stardust, and he had an account on Kiwi Farms where he talked some shit about Keffals. Did he dox her or support her dox in any way? No. Did she show anything he posted that was super messed up? No, he's just a bad guy for existing on the site, and that makes Stardust a bad guy because he's in her chat.
I feel like it's kind of hypocritical to be blaming him for being part of a forum, right?
Oh, shut the fuck up, you stupid bitch. Really? Blaming him for being part of a thread that is engaged in so much harassment that my fucking mother's address was leaked and they went after my family. How fucking discourse brained are you that this is actually something that you would say? Holy.
So I'm not trying to get you mad or anything like that.
Okay, then actually be a fucking person.
Right. I've expressed to you that I don't approve of doxing, and I don't.
He's in your chat.
Yes,
tell him you don't approve of him being in Kiwi Farms.
He knows that I don't approve of doxing, but Kiwi Farms is
but you're
separate
like okay
from
with it. So, but you're okay with people who engage in that in your community because he's there right now.
I mean, I don't think people in my community engage in that. Nobody in my community is doxing.
Is Flamenco not part of your community? Is he not in your chat, just like you said?
Unless you have screenshots. I'm willing to ban him if you have screenshots of him posting docs, but
he didn't post docs. He engaged in the fucking thread.
He talks shit about me. See, he's a bad guy. He's allowed to talk shit about you. You aren't above it. What is this entitled shit? When Stardust would tweet about dropping her YouTube video on Keffals, her channel would suspiciously get a strike on an unlisted video that same day, indicating a mass flagging. She's literally intimidating a smaller channel in her genre with mass flagging and hasn't spoken out against it at all. All hail Chancellor Keffals.
I love hentai. I need hentai in my life all day, I love hentai.
We've already talked about Keffals' weird guilt by association when it comes to having a Kiwi Farms account. Just being on the site somehow makes you a doxer, swatter, and harasser. Hell, just knowing somebody who uses the site makes you guilty. But that kind of reminds me of this thing called Catboy Ranch. It was Keffals' Twitter account at the time, as well as the name of a Discord that allegedly had some grooming in it. I have absolutely nothing to do with that Discord, and I think that it is disgusting. I'll warn people about the Discord. Someone would ask, by that you mean you'll leave the Discord? Keffals would reply with, already did. I wasn't active or aware of this until now. She would then get pummeled in the replies. Bruh, I was joking. I didn't know you were a part of it. Did she actually just admit to being part of that groomer Discord? Kaz law is once again proven true. Keffals would then say, what is this guilt by association shit? I'm like in 30 Discord servers. Now, I don't think Keffals should be held guilty for that. She was hardly involved. But I'm also not the one who believes in guilt by association. She does, especially when it comes to her critics. So if everybody who has a Kiwi Farms account is guilty in her eyes, she sure is for Catboy Ranch. For fuck's sake, she has the ad on Twitter. Now that's embarrassing.
I love drugs and sketchy pills, and my favorite ones are the ones that kill quickly.
Keffals is a big advocate for minors transitioning and using HRT and hormone blockers to do so, even if it means their parents are against it.
Not just the kids, but it's also not fair to the parent.
It's not fair to the parents. Since when has being trans and transitioning had anything to do with anyone except for the person who is trans? Children aren't property. They're human beings.
She funded her friend's entire website where that was the point, to buy HRT and DIY hormones from people and then ship it to you, with the explicit directions on how minors should do it. Learn how to buy Bitcoin. If you're a minor, get a trusted adult to buy Bitcoin for you. You know, I could see the argument that by 15 or 16, kids would know if they wanted to transition or not. And if that's what Keffals, who did transition at that age, wants to fight for, more power to her. But what's weird is how much she lies and how sneaky she acts about it. She went on the H3 podcast and was just blatantly lying about everything.
One of their problems is that you are supporting young people, young trans people who didn't have access to hormones. You are telling them how to make homemade hormones.
Oh my God. No, I don't know how to make homemade hormones. I noticed the new thing is they're saying that I'm teaching people how to make hormones in their bathtub, which just sounds insane.
That sounds difficult. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't know
how do you do that?
It isn't as far off as you would think. The HRT website that she funded supports homemade hormones and even gives a step-by-step guide on how to do it, as well as allowing you to buy other people's homemade hormones. So why are you lying, Keffals? If you actually believe in it, you should stand up for it. Lying and covering it up just makes it look like you're doing something wrong.
What's the truth? I mean, you do have some kind of community where you're helping young trans people, right? That's like something
Yeah,
you're
of
passionate
course.
about. So where do you guys do this? Is it like a Discord or something, or like a community?
Oh, it's like a Twitch stream.
Oh, just on Twitch.
Yeah.
So it's all just out in the public.
Yeah.
Because they make it sound like you have some kind of secret or some community spot that's not publicly seen where you're talking with kids and stuff, but that's not even the case.
No.
Again, she's lying. Keffals does have a Discord. I'm in it, and it's obvious there are many hidden channels. I am donating thousands of dollars a year to a resource so people affected by hysterical anti-trans laws can have access to hormone replacement therapy before the age of 18. I do not give a single shit what you think. All TERFs who might read this, I've assisted at least a dozen minors with getting hormone replacement therapy. Cope and seethe.
Secret or some community spot that's not publicly seen where you're talking with kids and stuff, but that's not even the case.
No.
Wow, that's interesting. They really are just straight up lying, huh? Shouldn't surprise me that much, but yeah.
Also, her friend Chloe, the person who runs the DIY HRT site, openly brags about pink pilling minors. Pink pilling being the act of convincing minors of being trans. I have unironically pink pilled half a dozen minors. No one tell them I've helped more than one minor order bathtub estrogen collage. Stop acting like it's just a Twitch stream. It's not. It's so obviously deeper than that. You lying about it the way you are looks terrible. You know what else looks terrible? The fact that randomly the site has been updated saying you have to be 18 or older to access it. Although nothing is stopping you from just clicking past it, the packaging on some of the DIY hormones you could buy from the site say keep out of reach of parents. How sketchy you and Chloe are acting, the packaging on this shit just makes this whole DIY, buy hormones made out of a pressure cooker shit look so unsafe. Black market estrogen, sick. Your whole message was that these are safe alternatives for teens that want to transition but can't, either due to unsupportive parents or legislation in their area. Now she's gone completely back on all of it. The website's been edited, removing a bunch of the language around minors. They deleted the self-made hormones post and added an 18+ warning to the site. Then finally, she just stopped publicly affiliating with the site at all. Why? This is what you and Chloe have advocated for over a year. This is your project. What, did somebody die? This cover-up makes it look like you have no principles. I actually have some tips for Keffals. She's been in more internet drama in the past 6 months than anyone I've ever seen. She's gotten in fights with Jeremy and Nick Rakita, both of which I believed purposely misgendered her, with Nick saying some particularly nasty things. And that's wrong. You guys know me, I love to dunk on Jeremy, but when you go after somebody's money, their sponsors, their livelihood, trying to get them banned off YouTube, off Twitter, from the Minnesota bar, how do I defend you then? They don't owe you the respect of your pronouns when you try and stop them from putting food on the table. You will never convince them or their fans to join your side by trying to ban them. All you're doing is justifying their actions. Another thing, every time Keffals ends up in a big drama, she ends up talking to someone, oh, I just need some space. That's the only way I can get over this.
I do want to say, like, I think I reacted more harshly than I otherwise would have because you were the first YouTuber to ever make a YouTube video about me. At all.
Really?
Yes. So it's like when I first saw it, I was like freaking out. It's like, you know, a lot of shit happened. And yeah, I've been pretty aggressive in the past, but I don't think I can ever move on or calm down unless I'm given the space to.
You said this to me, Augie, Keem, and Nick. You haven't changed at all. You're still a weasel willing to say anything to get out of trouble for the given situation. Take accountability. Prove that you care. Because right now it doesn't look like you care about anything. Not even your own website to help trans youth. You seem horribly vindictive, resorting to doxing, encouraging swatting, posting pictures of people's moms. What a cute family. Lying about homemade hormones, DIY hormones, your Discord, Chloe, holding others to guilt by association, but not you. The Catboy Ranch, that doesn't count. And resorting to using people's suicides as a weapon. You use people, you're a professional victim, literally, profiting $100,000 off GoFundMe scams. Hell, a black guy gets murdered by the police, an absolute tragedy, and Keffals somehow makes it about herself. Every time I see another story involving an innocent black man being killed by the police, I think back to last month when I had an assault rifle pointed at me by the police, and how easily that situation could have escalated if I wasn't white. It's not about you. Like, she literally cannot comprehend that. Impeach Keffals. She's a cancer to the community. For positives, I guess she's a memer. You know, she posts some pretty edgy jokes. A picture of her shooting the towers. She called Kim a pedophile. I found that pretty funny. You know, she's just not an honest person and a professional narcissist, having to relate herself back to every tragedy. In a way, I kind of understand how she was a politician. That makes a lot of sense now. This video took a ridiculously long time to make, and I'm sure it's getting demonetized and flagged like crazy, so thank you. And thank you to Tej Hanley. Make sure to check them out in the pinned comment down below. And of course, shout out to the homies over on Patreon. Phoebes, Crimson Glass, Zombie Fox, River, Christina Vina, Free Spirit Katie, Detective Pika, Mac Monkey, Drain Kobex, Bo Blacks, Necro Valley, Stefan Bildman, Ivana Santini, Friday 13, and the mega homies, Reynolds Hughes, Marissa Lynn, IGP, Hellison, Bald Boy Ajax, Jason Johnson, Your Taxi, Latchkey Goth Boy, Spartan McCowell, Lore Reloaded, Code 9, Papa Gut, Evan Do Things, and Addy Chris. Follow me on Twitter, and as always, till next time. Hopefully I don't get banned. Please.
Tonight I can't taste the whiskey from across the room in the stumbling of your steps. Here's to the rubble, a break through every window, a casket buried 6 feet deep for everybody's heroes. Here's to our lives being meaningless, and how beautiful it is, because freedom